All right. Well, I guess I'm live. I was just kind of uh, thinking just what I could do, to connect with people. I don't have any idea that anyone will show up for this. It's pretty late, and our channel's not real big, YouTube wise. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, I'm going to go over some things with Earl of Fife Games, talk about other random things. Um, you can see the very, very, very this way, this way. Um, Dirty office of mine, very unorganized currently. Um, yeah, and so if you don't know who I am, I'm Jason Duff of Earl of Fife Games. And if you are out there and you hear this, you feel free to say something or do something. Um, I really don't know much of how to do this. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So anyway, one thing I wanted to talk about was I just kind of, I am a person who thinks kind of um, high level about things, a bit of philosophy and philosophical. I think I should use my vocabulary. I I think one thing that I've been thinking about lately is kind of, and this was brought up because of my newsletter, which I do use to help promote other projects for reciprocal promotion stuff and Kickstarters, and kind of how the business of tabletop role playing games can be kind of I don't want to say dirty. That's not really the what I'm looking to say, but more a bit curtailed to uh, do certain things certain ways so you can make money. And Yeah, I mean, you have to think of so as someone who a lot of us out there as indie game designers, it's just us pretty much, and sometimes you work with teams of other indie um, game designers doing different aspects of your game, um, and you have to try to get an advantage any way you can, um, you know, uh, to the limits of, doing things that are underhanded or something like that, which obviously I don't do, and I would not suggest other people do it either. But I had someone ask me today, is like, you're not really a 5e creator. Why are you, promoting these 5e projects? And as long as I don't, have no suspicions that they're fraudulent or anything like that, I will, cross promote with people. And the reason is simple: is the more people you can get eyes on your project, the better it's going to do. Um, and I do have, I'm even doing a 5e version of Dungeons Deep and Caverns Old, which is not my, I don't usually do 5e stuff, but I went out and got a really good 5e designer. They'll do the 5e work, and I'll put it together as a project manager sort, and I'll do layout of that area. Um, and it's just I mean, I'm not gonna kid anyone. It's for monetary reasons of trying to be able to get paid for my work. And at the end of the day, this is a hobby, but it's a very serious hobby where you can use it to help fund other things, right? And it's not like um, it's not like the money is, I'm going to be living in a mansion because of, the money I make on tabletop role-playing games. And it's funny. I saw someone else talking about on another Discord about how they had this impression that publishers were purposely um, making their PDFs not be printable. And that's not necessarily locking the PDF so you can't print it, but um, like using color schemes that are not printer friendly, like black backgrounds, and not layering it. Um, you know, I, I don't know that anybody's really doing that necessarily, right? They're not thinking, I don't want so and so customers to print out my PDF. No, it's not. It's not really that. It's just that printing is super expensive. Even if you print like with no background images and you just do text, unless you have a laser printer or something, which I don't even know if exists anymore, you're gonna go through ink very quickly. I don't even, it's almost just behooves you to just buy the book, honestly. I understand that in some parts of the world it's difficult because of shipping, because of exchange rates, that sort of thing. I do try to layer my PDFs as best I can. I don't really have a problem with people printing it, you know. Some old, as I recall at least, some of these old games, there is basically a line in the copyright saying you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to. I don't think it was print it because they're more like hardcover books. Is you aren't allowed to copy it, so you can't take it to a copying machine and copy it unless it was just the character sheet or something like that, right? Um, it's interesting. Huh. Yeah, it just gets me thinking of what people think. And there's another comment along with that was like, they're getting rich off me or something like that. This I don't know what like if people really think that like tabletop role playing game industry is that big, because it's not. It's a very small industry. I think boy, I can't remember what the actual monetary thing of the industry was across all companies. I'm pretty sure probably the indie companies were estimated or something. Um, but it's very small, way smaller than board games. Not even in comparison to something like a video game. Um, and even the most highly paid designer or indie publisher are not getting rich off role playing games. It's just not happening, and a vast majority, particular indie game designers and even game designers that work for big companies, a high percentage of them do not do it as a full-time job. It's just even as a freelancer or as a full employee. It's just not. There's only very few companies that do this. Very few companies. Your Wizards of the Coast, your Paizo, a few others, but not a great deal of companies even have full-time employees. And maybe you freelance enough to, you just freelance to be able to do it full time and you bust your butt doing it. It's tough. And I can tell you as a publisher, as an indie publisher, it's very difficult to make significant amounts of money and pay people, a very high, a rate that they could do it full time on. It's just that's what it is. It's like, your publisher has to make the money to be able to pay the employees the money, right? employees as what freelancer or whatever. I try. Um, you know, Most of my expenditures is in art. I do a lot of the writing myself, or writing partners that get some sort of, percentage of sales plus some sort of, direct monetary, compensation. Depends. I'm starting to push out into just kind of more direct monetary compensation for people, particularly people that, are more just like on a, I don't know all that well, I guess, and that, are working, for me in some capacity. They deserve it, and, you know, um, yeah, and it leaves me a little, wiggle room at the end. Is like, well, I don't have to pay this person 15% of a Kickstarter, which would make them, a lot more money, maybe. It's always kind of a gamble that way, but I'm always trying to come up with like, better ways to pay people and to get money into their hands for hard work that they do. Um, you know, and I think that they deserve it. But still, as publishers, it's can be very hard because you have to make the money first. And especially if you're doing something that is not 5e based, it's even harder because you can just slap 5e on something, and that's going to give you a certain a certain legitimacy to your game, and a certain legitimacy to um, your marketing aspects, and what people want and what people like, and their familiarity, and you can say, well, this is fifth edition compatible. They know exactly what you're talking about. So it is a tough spot to be in for some people. I have my own full-time job. I'm comfortable. My wife has a side gig too. We do quite well. And so it is unfortunate that this industry can't really support more full-time workers. I think that there's a lot that goes into that. Obviously, it's a niche hobby. That's the first and most important thing. Then you have kind of an overwhelming market share going to one company, and that company, has the most employees for it. Great for those employees, but there's a lot of people who would like to be doing this full time. I feel that can't do it. Can't work for Wizards of the Coast or Pazio. And even those companies, as far as I know, still take freelancers, and it's a mix of freelancers and full-time employees. And most companies don't have full-time artists. Those are all freelancers. So you have like a wide breadth of people in the industry doing different things. You think designers and writers, that's the first thing that probably comes to people's mind. But there's editors, there's proofreaders, there's project managers, there's artists, there's layout designers, there's graphic designers, and so on and so forth. And so, all those people might want to get in the industry, and they just can't do it because, you know, it's not feasible for them to live, you know. And that's why you see so many people just doing it as a side gig type of thing. Now we're in an age, um, an age of people doing gig work on the side just because why not? It's easier than ever to do it because you have access to the internet, and just you know, it's hard out there, for a lot of folks, and just making that extra money can help, and doing something you like, and you know, but it's as a publisher, I can tell you, if you're watching this as another publisher, or a customer, primarily a consumer of the content that a publisher would make, it's not all It's not all a bed of roses, I guess is that the right term? It's not everything isn't just like, yes, I did awesome. I'm raking in the cash. I'm buying my mansion. But it's not. It is, and it's hard work, and it's a lot of work. And you get to the point where you're like, man, the creative parts of that, I'm barely doing it. Like I find it very hard to spend my time doing the creative aspects that I really like. Um, versus doing the business stuff, which it's not. I don't dislike it necessarily, but it's not as fulfilling as writing something and designing rules for something or something like that, right? So there's a lot to that, right? And it depends on what kind of project you're working on, the things you're doing. But it's I just wish people would understand that, right? And I think there's people understand that prices they've gone up in just about everything across the board, except really this industry. This industry, I can't really remember much difference in the price now and then in the 2000s for a book. I mean, I really don't. In 90s, I don't really recall, but I was a little too young to really remember real well. But and that's another thing, and obviously, the prices are going up with everything makes it harder, but as a publisher, you got to realize the prices are going up for them too, right? For everything they have to buy. Shipping is outrageous, right? I hate that my shipping prices are so high. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely horrible, but that's just the way it is. I mean, shipping is outrageous unless you get media mail everywhere. It really is bad. Um, it's terrible. But paper prices are really high. Freight is outrageous. It's another shipping, thing. That's why this last Kickstarter, I did not get it printed in Lithuania because the freight was just too much. It's just freight is ridiculous. It would take like a huge print run for me to go back to Lithuania, even though their products are amazing. The Heroes and Hardships core rulebook looks amazing, feels amazing, printed amazing, all that stuff. But it is a tough go to get freight right now from anywhere to anywhere. It's just not. I have no idea what the if you know about the Baltimore situation where the bridge got collapsed by a cargo ship running into basically the base of the bridge. My stuff all came into that port. I don't know how that's affecting everything right now, so it could slow it down, could make it more pricey, could so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm trying to print locally to my hubs, which is the U.S. and the U.K., and have them you know, de- deliver from there. Still pretty good products, I think. Good products. They're not as good as like Standard and Preza. I'm not gonna say they are, but they're still good products, And I'm doing pains. I'm trying to painstakingly check them and make sure they're good and give that to everybody. So yeah, but it's just, what do you say? Well, you want to raise your prices on games? Yeah, you could, but there's also, a market condition that will not allow you to raise it to a certain point. Like you see a $30 PDF, even me, it's like, oh man, that's rough. That is rough stuff. Um, it depends. I mean, everybody wants to get paid for their time and but at the same time you don't want to price yourself out of the market either, right? um, it's a tough balancing act between trying to do what's right for you and trying to do what's right for the customer and paying people properly. And it's like, how do you accept the costs for something, and you know how do you incur these costs but still make some money, or even how do you accrue all the costs that you need to and even just break even, right? It's hard. And that's why I think, I mean, it's obviously that's why you see a rise in AI art in tabletop RPGs is because art is like probably your number one expense, honestly. It really is, unless you go like a very low art, book or black and white art or art that's just not very. I don't want to say good because it's subjective, but like it's not art that you would see in a AAA book of Wizards of the Coast or Paizo or something like that. Um, and that's why you see a lot of AI. And although I do not like AI art, there's ethical things that I have a problem with it. And anyway, it's I'm not going to get into that, but I can understand it. I understand it. When your budget, when you got very little budget for art and you spend it, that's an extra X amount of dollars you can make. So, I understand all that. It's tough. I don't, there's absolutely no, there's no, don't understand why you would have AI text. I would understand if you said you go into one of them and have it edit it for you for grammar or something, because there's no real difference from like Grammarly or Hemingway editor, which I use those as well, which are just tell you like, oh, this is passive voice, this is whatever. But yeah, it's like, oh, write me a story. Oh God, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that if you're a publisher. You want somebody with a creative brain to make something for you. Don't use a computer for that. I would prefer you not to use images, from AI either. But hey, it's not for me to tell you what to do, right? It's only for people to understand, you know, uh, what they're accepting of, and I think more and more people are actually accepting of AR art. I don't think many customers really care too much. They might just shrug. It depends what you're accustomed to and what you think that publisher is going to give you too. If if Wizards of the Coast, which they did on accident, supposedly, give you AI art, you might be, hey man, that's really BS because, Wizards of the Coast is a a billion, well, Hasbro is a billion um, dollar company, right? And so, um, it's kind of hard to justify that, right? Now, if you got Jimmy down the street, and Jimmy wants to make an adventure that he's going to put on Drive Through RPG, and he uses some AI art. That's a little different, right? Jimmy's going to make very little money on his $5 adventure, and he sells 50 of them, right? I mean, is he going to buy a $300 piece of art, which is kind of average for not even a full page or half a page piece of art? No, right? I mean, that would be silly. And thank thank you. And I don't know about knowledge, but just kind of musing about how it is to be like an indie publisher and the kind of the challenges you face. Um, and just seeing how do you grow, right? If you grow, you gotta spend money, you gotta and you get to that certain point where you can start doing that. Where that's like what I'm trying to do, but you can't do everything yourself either. You have to kind of let go a little bit. Um, you gotta let go and let other people do some things, and you gotta pay them. So you gotta have a plan in place where you can make your money, how you're gonna make your money back. You don't want to lose money on a side hustle, right? I mean, obviously. Um, yeah, it's just it's an interesting time. It's never been easier to publish a game, but it also at the same point it's not easy still, right? It's never been easier because you have all the tools to do it. You have an easy way to put it out there. You don't have to just say, I'm going to just sell it on my website, which is hard because then you have to draw people into your website. It's a whole marketing thing. You have a central repository like DriveThruRPG. There are some other places too, but really DriveThruRPG is what you're looking at, where you can just put something up there. It's going to hit their newest carousel or something like that, and people are going to see it, and people are going to, inevitably buy it. Probably. You can release something for an established system, and somebody's just going to, search that system. They're going to see um, they're going to see something for it and they're probably going to buy it, or somebody will. Um, so it's never been easier to sell a game at some quantities, but at the same point, it's a really hard to get from that small to that real medium, right? It's like when you get like on that cusp of medium, kind of maybe like me, I don't know. It's just it's like you really have to expand. You really do. You have to expand. There's only so much time in the day one person can do everything. Like myself, there's only so much like creative juices that you have in the day for things when you get worn down by co-promotion emails and talking to people and planning things and budgeting things and that sort of thing. So um, you really have to expand at that point. And you see a lot of these Kickstarters. I'm not going to name any specifically, but I have never. I've backed like about 50 Kickstarters or something like that, and I've never had one completely fail. Maybe I don't know if that's you know I don't know if it's exactly like commonplace, but at 1 out of 50, you would figure that's probably likely that you would have something fail. But a lot of people seem to have had that, or when I mean fail, I'm not talking about like delayed 3 years. I'm talking about they never get anything. And there's been several that have been brought to my attention lately because this is, I'm kind of just like spilling stuff here. I've been looking into purchasing games to turn them around and fix them, not make them heroes and hardships necessarily, but like kind of have another branch of games. I did this with Abandon on Hope, and to kind of revive it. Now it will be H&H, but there's other games I've looked at trying to buy that are abandoned or they've failed in Kickstarter. When I say failed, I don't mean that they didn't fund. I mean that they funded and then the publisher just, kapoo, ghosted them or didn't give everything. Um, so um, there's also this thing where just because you can write a game doesn't mean you're good or you understand business at all, right? Or all right. Well, there we go. Sorry about that. Um, you have to understand that you are going to either lose money, you have to be prepared for it. And what's your tolerance for that, right? And when I'm talking about like Kickstarters, right? Even if you fund them, right? Because most publishers do not set their real funding goals on Kickstarter. Why is this? Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, you want to fund as quickly as possible. You're kind of gaming the system, but you want to fund as quickly as possible because it is shown that Kickstarter's algorithm, and when I say algorithm, it's kind of a word people use, like algorithm. What does that mean? Well, in this case, it means um, showing your project to other people who come to Kickstarter. This can be in just the front page of Kickstarter. It can be more likely in like recommended at the very bottom of a Kickstarter project page, and so on and so forth. And the quicker you fund, the quicker you will, the more likely the algorithm will pick up and show your project to other people. So a lot of people will put their funding goal at something much lower than it really is. What that is, it's just kind of I don't think it matters at a certain point. It's if you estimate that you're definitely going to make, you know, $100,000, it doesn't really matter if you put it at 5,000 or 10,000. You're going to fund in almost the same amount of time anyway. But there are some thoughts that if your funding goal is too low, then Kickstarter will think it's a more like what's the word I'm looking for? Not a as popular not 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 popular is not a good word either. It's just more like and I don't want to say cheap either. It's not really what I'm looking for. I think that um, without coming out with a specific term, just they think that the game will not have as much success no matter what they do to promote it, so therefore they don't, right? Um, like you tell me when the last time you went to the front page of Kickstarter and you clicked on a game there and it was a $500, funding goal. It just doesn't happen. So, um, you're going to have you're going to play that game a little bit, and some people don't, right? And you see it, you see it right away. You're like, oh, they have a $50,000 funding goal, you know, and that's tough. And then they fund like maybe at the end, um, and then you have like Free League who put their funding goals at $10,000, and obviously they're going to make $100,000 minimum on whatever they do. So it's just kind of not even. It's clearly not real, right? They're spending, a ton of money on printing, on art, on writing, on all that stuff. So it's not $10,000, I can tell you. Quite certain it's not $10,000. So even they do it, you know. And then there's the thought that people who actually don't need Kickstarter to make their games should not use Kickstarter, right? Some people say if you're Free League or someone like that and you're using Kickstarter, you are doing it for what reason? You're doing it for a pre-order because it's going to be made anyway. But I am more of the opinion that it doesn't matter to me, really, and I can quite see why they do it because it's a marketing tool. It's a marketing tool to get your game out there. Kickstarter is the biggest thing. It's a marketing tool to sell your game. Um, get it funded, yes, obviously, but to sell your game eventually, that Kickstarter is huge. That's the greatest marketing thing we have, right? Facebook ads or whatever. It doesn't matter. Those things, marketing, are pale in comparison just putting your thing up on Kickstarter. And it's a huge marketing boon for anyone. I would suggest if you have a game that, even if let's say it's a D&D adventure, using all stock art, who cares? Put it on Kickstarter for $500. It'll be hard to make $500 on Drive-Thru RPG for something like that. Very difficult. On Kickstarter, not that difficult. Yeah. Just do cross promotion posts with people. You get one cross promotion post with somebody with like 400 backers already or something. A good amount of them are going to back. Well, I won't say that, but there's a good possibility there's some of them that are going to back, and when they back, it's like kind of get the ball rolling. But if you're a new publisher and you somehow see this and you're like, well, I don't know what to do, put your thing on Kickstarter. Look at other successful Kickstarter campaigns. Look at ones that are near what you think that you're gonna make. Like, okay, if you're making an adventure, your first adventure, you're a new person at all this, and look at somebody who is right at 500, 1,000 funding goal range, or not even funding goal, what they actually did fund, and just kind of copy what they did. How did they do this? What did they do this? And then just kind of learn. But yeah, I always go to Kickstarter first with anything of you know significance. Um, other other funding platforms. The only one that's really viable right now for tabletop role-playing games, for anybody that doesn't have their own audience, right? And when I say their own audience, I mean, MCDM or, big, and I'm talking about not indie necessarily, but big, bigger companies in our space, not including the biggest, but like MCDM, Free League, whatever. And so, Cipher System, Monty Cook Games, it's a good example. Evil Hat Games, so they're using BackerKit. Okay, a lot of them do, I think. I know MCDM did. BackerKit. You can The problem with BackerKit, as a crowdfunding platform, is that their native traffic to BackerKit is not as as much as Kickstarter and by a wide margin. Now, BackerKit does have a lot of interesting things that I like a lot about it as a publisher, and maybe I'll give it a shot. The things I do like about it is, there's the biggest thing for me is how do I get people, that I can contact regularly and tell them about my stuff. Okay, BackerKit is good because, there's this thing. So they have this thing called BackerKit Launch, and if you've ever, backed anything on BackerKit, you probably have seen it. You go to it, you enter your email. Basically, you hit a landing page, and it's a lot different than Kickstarter. Kickstarter is just a thumbnail, a blurb, and that's it. But BackerKit Launch has, a fairly verbose, page that you can log into, and see, or not even log into, that you hit, and then you can see way more about, what the project is. A full like page, right? And but the best part is, so that is, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. That's really, it's hard to say, because like, what's your attention span, right? What's your attention span for this? The problem with it is that you have to enter your email. You have to sign up with an email, whereas Kickstarter, if you're logged in, you hit a button. If you're logged into BackerKit, I think you can do that too, but there's less people that have BackerKit, accounts, because you don't need a BackerKit account to actually get your rewards from BackerKit as a pledge manager. You don't actually need one. You just have to have an email. Um, so and not an email that's on BackerKit, not an account necessarily. So that is a negative. But as a publisher, the good thing about that is when, if they do actually sign up, then, unlike Kickstarter's, like the follow feature in Kickstarter, you will be able to contact those people again and again and again and again, unless they unsubscribe from you, for any project. So as a publisher, that is really good. That's a really nice thing to have. Um, the problem when it comes down to BackerKit itself as a crowdfunding platform is, like I said, there is a lot less native traffic to BackerKit than Kickstarter. I can't tell you the time I've went to BackerKit just looking for projects. Now I've went in there to do research and looked at projects that were running currently, but almost never have I just been like, oh, what's running on BackerKit? Just so, is there something cool running on BackerKit? And I think that's the same for a lot of people, and that could be just like our conditioning as what are we going to go to, what are we going to do. Um, so that's really the problem there. I think that BackerKit has a very cool setup, and, being able to integrate with its own pledge manager. There's other benefits as a publisher too. You get discounted marketing fees like Facebook ads that BackerKit run for you. If you're going to do that, you get a discount there. You get your pledge manager for free. Usually it's 2% of your project. Um, and so there's a lot of benefits to that. But yeah, I would like to try it sometime. It's just I'm just a little scared. Um, and unless you have your own, if you have your own like army of customers, like those companies I talked to, MCDM and Evil Hat and Monte Cook Games, then there's really no disadvantage of doing it, really. There's GameFound, which I don't know anything about besides it's more of a board game space. I know there have been some role-playing games that have been run there, but I really know nothing about it. And then there's like other alternatives like Indiegogo, which I don't really think has much pull in this area. So yeah, that's my thought. It's basically right now BackerKit or Kickstarter, and there's both negatives and positives on both sides. But the traffic, all the native traffic, really is on Kickstarter right now. There is one other good thing about BackerKit though is like you have less competition on BackerKit, but that only matters if people are natively like browsing it. Otherwise getting lured to wherever you're getting lured from, like Facebook or whatever other ads, it doesn't matter. You're still getting pulled there, and you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. It doesn't matter if there's 100 other projects. Only matters if you're actually like looking through the platform. So yeah, but hopefully the backer kit becomes more viable. But people just have to get on there and just train themselves not to use Kickstarter. Kickstarter just has the that first to market type of thing that they just have that, and it's hard to break. It's the same thing Wizards of the Coast has. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah. Any other questions? If you do, otherwise I'll keep talking about other stuff. But um, what else? How can we segue from crowdfunding to something else? Well, I do have a Kickstarter upcoming, 5e one. Um, so yeah, if you're into 5e, you can come to Earl of Fife Games and see what that is. It's a dwarf campaign setting. Should be launching at the end of this month. Yeah. So yeah. Um, it's just a lot of things to talk about. It's almost like it's almost difficult to like pin something down almost when you're just rambling like this. One thing I have found difficult as a designer is so me personally, I'm a guy who likes to play a lot of different types of games, from all the way from narrative games to very crunchy games to this system, that system, this setting, that setting. It doesn't matter. And so when you are designing a game, or when you are a designer, you really have to play test it. I don't have a team of play testers. Just take it out in the wild and play test it and then come back. Some people do. Robert Schwab does, which is great for him. He's able to really leverage those folks. The Secrets of the Weird Wizard. I think that's what it's called. Um, I know that he had a huge playtest group from Shadow of the Demon Lord folks, and yeah. But if you don't have that, then you got to do it yourself, and you got to get insight on that, and so you have to run your game, have to play your game. And so it leaves less time for doing the fun things on your times that you want to play, right? Oh, I want to play a game. Oh man, I have to play my game. It's almost like you get sick of it sometimes. At least I do. I mean, like I could not play like one system consistently forever. The people who play 5e and nothing but 5e, it blows my mind. Not anything to do with 5e, just to be anything. If you played only GURPS or only, I'm just looking over Conan or whatever, it would be monotonous. Yeah, it's like drinking the same thing or eating the same meal every day. Um, no. And that's why like right now I'm running Heroes and Hardships, and I'm also about to start running this game. I'm happy to plug other games I really like. This one right here, Conan 2D20, not available for sale anymore. Um, it is a fantastic game. I really like the 2D20 system in general. There's some versions of 2D20 I'm not a big fan of, but man, the Conan I really am. Conan, the Star Trek particularly. Oh, I really love those games. And so, yeah, I'm a big Modifius fan. I hope their new game, Cohort, is that how you say it? Is down my alley because I think I like that idea, a Roman Cthulhu-esque kind of game. Octung Cthulhu I really like too. That's another one I should throw in there. Those three I've played. Have I played? I have played Dune. Not my game of choice. I love Dune, by the way. Dune, the setting is my favorite sci-fi setting. Dune is probably my favorite book, but just the system just doesn't jive for me. Maybe it's for other people, just not for me. The reason I say that is it's very oversimplified for my tastes. That's the other D20, 2D20 game I've played. I'm trying to think of. I have Fallout, have not played it. I have Infinity, not played it. And I have Mutant Chronicles and have not played it. But yeah, those ones I mentioned are fantastic though. I think I would like Mutant Chronicles and Infinity for sure. Um, I don't know about Fallout, but yeah, fantastic games. If you've not played them and you're watching this, I suggest go play them because they're great. Other games that I'm looking to play. I've actually have kickstarted quite a few games lately. Usually I do it once every few months, but I've done quite a few like just over the last couple months, weeks. The new Coriolis game by Free League, the second edition. Backed that. I backed the City of Mist creators fantasy game. I can't recall what it's called. Um, yep, that one's Zweihander I backed. And then I have Lex Arcana that I backed. That one's still going. Um, Lots of good games. Hard to play them all. Hard to play them all. Yeah. As a publisher, awesome thing is those are all tax deductible, by the way. So that's amazing. You can buy your games; they're all tax deductible. Um, what other games have I played recently? I played Imperium Maledictum by Cubicle 7. Pretty good, pretty good. I love Warhammer 40k, big 40k fan. I've never played the miniatures, but I like the setting a lot. I'm grim dark kind of guy, I guess. Um, but I really enjoyed that game. I still don't know if I like it better in Dark Heresy Second Edition, but I do like it. There's some weird parts, um, like when you can hit somebody and still fumble. I get it, like intellectually, but it seems weird. I don't know. What else? Have I play? I'm playing The Walking Dead by Free League right now, actually, as well. I'm in a game of that. It's very rules light. it's fine. I find I don't know how much I like Mutant Year Zero personally. I mean, I should like it. I feel like I should like it like more than I do. I don't feel like since I've never run one of those games, I feel like I just don't have a very deep understanding of them, and so it's hard for me to like be like I don't really like that or I really love it. For me, you have to really run something to get a proper kind of uh, some sort of depth and what I think about it. But I have a lot of those games too, but I really haven't run any of them. I've played Twilight 2000, and I've played Coriolis, and I've played um, The Walking Dead, and I don't know. It's just yeah, just I don't know. My brain just can't like pick it up exactly. I played Alien too. I played a one shot of Alien. It was pretty fun. The pushing mechanic is can be a little strange. You push, and then if you get one of the six on one of those bad dice, then something bad happens. But you have more opportunity to succeed. So that's an interesting mechanic. I don't hate it. Um, what else recently? What else recently? Boy, I don't know. That's about it for the last year or so. Um, yeah. Um, so another thing that's interesting, just kind of keeping going here for a little bit. What time is it? So I'll talk for a little bit longer. There's as a designer, you can what I do. Um, I kind of if there is a system or not a system in a game that I'm playing that's not Heroes and Hardships, for instance, and I need it for some reason, right? What is that? What would that mean? So I'll just give you an example. Conan 2D20, fantastic game, I love it. But I need to do a little bit more reading. I can't just like totally say that it doesn't exist. Now I know that downtime occurs in Conan, but not to the depth that I want it to. So I'm kind of developing an H&H system on the side for like um, for downtime and also for like kind of to support a mercenary kind of game. So if you play like Battle Brothers or War Tales, the video game, those games, like those type of games, you have to, oh, how much food rations do you have? How many, how can you pay all your mercenaries? Are they hurt? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, coming up with like a system to support that kind of thing. And writing it kind of on the side for Heroes and Hardships and Conan, because I'm using it in Conan. I'm not really using it in H&H, but you can still kind of develop something out of a need for something else. Like I'll probably write it in Conan first and be just like, how can I, massage it to Heroes and Hardships and see, if there's a good crossover there. Um, so that's an interesting thing you can do as like just designing something. Um, yeah, because my Conan 2D20 game, there are a bunch of mercenaries, so um, I wanted to kind of add that kind of resource management to the topic because Heroes and Hardships really, as a core book, pushes away from that because typically in games I always call it counting coppers. You know, I don't particularly like counting coppers in game. I don't need to know how much money I have. I don't need to know like a silk rope costs 2 silver and I have 5 gold and I convert it. And it's like 100 silver to 1 gold and like 512 copper to one. So it's whatever they are. I've never been a fan of that. So in the base rules for Heroes and Hardships, it's just current currency points, right? It's just like okay, just kind of make it generic. But yeah, we'll do that. See what happens. Um, I don't know. So if you're watching this video currently, or if you have watched it, or tell me what your favorite systems are and why you like them, and That's that sort of thing. If there's systems that I have not played or have not read or skimmed at least, I'd love to hear about that. I'm always interested in hearing about new systems, that sort of thing. Well, let's see. What other games are coming out that I'm interested in? There's not like anything that's like really like burning a hole in my pocket type of thing. I'm interested to see the new Coriolis. I'm interested in seeing the new Zweihander. I'm interested in seeing, Lex Arcana. I say Lex Arcana is probably one of the ones I'm more interested in because I don't have the core rulebook, so I just bought it all right about. It's always something I've been kind of interested in. I'm into Roman stuff, obviously, and so I'm kind of curious to what that's going to look like and what it is. What is it? Kind of I'm not a person when I do Kickstarters to like overly like go through the whole thing and figure out every little nuance of it. Open up the quick starts and all that stuff. I don't usually do that. I just kind of get a sense of what it does and what it is, and I don't care about stretch goals at all as a customer. Um, not important to me. If I get more stuff, cool. Yeah, I still get adventures from Punk Apocalypse role playing game from Schwab Entertainment, and I'm like, why am I getting these for free still? Like, there's a ton. Why? It's been like 2 or 3 years. Am I still getting free adventures? That's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. That guy's a machine, by the way. Writing machine. Just it's incredible. I wished I could write that fast and that much and that well. But yeah. Looking at my. Well, so those are the games I'm playing, but uh, one diamond in rough, is it within reach? It is not. So there's a game called Paladin. I keep talking about this game. Paladin is a successor to Pendragon. It is the French version. It was produced by, I don't want to misspeak, but the brother of the owner of Drive Thru RPG was the publisher originally. I I want to say Steve is his name, but I might be getting him confused. Anyway, he created the game and it kickstarted. Then he died, unfortunately, and so it was finished by I believe his brother and some others, and the writing was all done by a French developer, but the publishing was done by them, and then it got picked up by Chaosium, and they run it now. Anyway, we've been running a real long campaign of it. We still have a pretty big break, but it's kind of this generational kind of role playing game like Pendragon is. You play the son and the grandson and blah blah. But we have not died yet, so it's kind of funny. And it's weird. It's almost like you're playing like Crusader Kings, the role playing game. It's very interesting, and I like that game a lot. And we're playing it right now. The game that we're going to try probably, I hope, later this year. I'm a big L5R fan. Obviously, if you've played Heroes and Hardships and you know L5R, there's a lot of similarities in the dice mechanics at least. And so we're going to try the newest L5R, the FFG L5R, which uses the custom dice, not D10s. Uh, my 3-year-old son takes my dice all over the house, so I don't know if I can find one to show you. I don't think so. I think he's got them spread out somewhere. Um, so he likes the dice, but they're custom dice. They're not Genesis. It doesn't think I'm talking. I don't know. That's weird, isn't it? I don't know. It should just notice. I don't know. That's weird. I've never had that happen before. Um, but my headset keeps turning off. Strange. I got it plugged in. Anyway, we're gonna try that. I'm looking forward to it as a L5R fan, and to try something new. Um, so I do like to try new games, as most people know who know me. So I'm down for that. I'm down for that. You know what? One of the biggest preventative thing for me playing a game is it doesn't have any VTT support, especially because I play 99.99999% of my games online. If it doesn't have VT support, it's hard. It is hard for me, um, because I want to be able to like input the character sheet and roll from it and that sort of thing. Now it's very interesting. So we've got a resident GM for my Discord for Heroes and Hardships, and he really doesn't use VTTs like that. So it's very odd for me. I had to kind of like take a step back and be like, just let him do it his way, right? Um, because like I was just like, this is it's different. It's just different. Yeah, yeah, it's if it doesn't have VTT support, it's a hard hump to get over. And it doesn't matter what VTT really to me. Besides, Roll20 and Foundry, I'm pretty competent with, particularly Roll20. But if it's Fantasy Grounds, it's like, well, okay, I can do that. I own the license for Fantasy Grounds, but it's like and that's what stinks. I look at like my games, and there's quite a few that don't have VTT support, so it's like, well, how would I play that game? It's not that easy. I've went through and I've made character sheets, um, and stuff. I made the Heroes and Hardships, or like the base version of the Heroes and Hardships Roll20 character sheet. I mean, I'm not particularly a coder, but yeah, I mean, I haven't used Fantasy Grounds in so long, and it just seems like, a dying VTT to me. It just, it's like really heavily automated, like it's like almost an MMO or something. Um, I want some automation, but holy moly, I don't want to like, have a quick bar where like all my I don't know. It's whatever. I don't want to besmirch it really, but it's just it's been so long for me that I've used it. I know that when I was planning on new development for a VTT, which I went with Foundry, but Fantasy Grounds was an option. I was just like, I don't think that's a good idea. It's just not really afford not a directional VTT for the space, I don't think. I have no idea to say how they're doing financially, but I don't know of anybody who is dying to get on Fantasy Grounds. Really, I mean, I know people use it, and that's their VTT of choice. That's fine, but I don't know very many. It's mostly Foundry or Roll20. It's really mostly Foundry that you hear these days, but Roll20 is a lot easier. To get things going. Yeah. Um, and Roll20, like, it's free, you know, for a lot of people. So unless you're GMing, you don't really need a paid Roll20 account. So that's the big thing. I guess you don't on Foundry either, but it's just there's just a easy when you can just drag and drop something. It makes it pretty easy to deal with as a GM, right? You just drag it onto the screen and work with it however you're going to work with it that way. Whereas Foundry, you got to upload the files, and if you're in Forge, you got to point to your assets directly. It doesn't matter to me, but it's if I'm going to do something really quick, if I'm going to play a game that doesn't have a character sheet, I'm going to use Roll20, because that's the only way you could really do it. I mean, yeah, there's like things like Albert Rodeo and stuff, but like, I mean, I can easily do any kind of role I want in Roll20. I can do Roll 10, keep 5, right? Exploding dice. I can do that. I could do that. There's not a roll with no like normal dice that I can't do on Roll 20. Whereas there's some VTTs that can't even roll exploding dice. Like I don't think Albert Rodeo can do it. So it just makes Roll 20 really really nice in that way. But yeah, if you don't have a VTT character sheet, it's hard. It's really hard to get into it. So yeah, yeah, and Foundry is nice, and I like a lot of it, and I'm using it more and more and more, and Heroes and Hardships will have a VTT sheet, or we'll have a we'll have a Foundry sheet pretty soon, like within a couple months. I think we'll have it at least the like free just system part. So, but yeah, yeah, I it's just like there's a lot of people that get real defensive about like what VTT they're using. I, yeah, the subscription model sucks. It does. Having to pay $100 a year versus if you're on Foundry, $50 one time. It's not. Yeah, it's kind of annoying for sure. Um, yeah. But yeah, some people do get quite defensive. Oh, I hate Roll 20. I will never use it. It's like, do you want to play the game? It's like, just be a little flexible. Be a little flexible. Um, yeah, but really, even the main problem with not subscribing to Roll 20 and being a GM, it depends what you're looking for, but um, yeah, you're missing dynamic lighting and stuff. Do you run maps where that's what you want? Maybe you do. So that's a big hindrance, but really the hindrance is the size of the stuff you can upload. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I guess a plus user, that's a little cheaper. I think it's like $40 cheaper a year or something like that. But yeah, they put limits on how much you can upload, which makes sense. I mean, it's fair. Although like data's very cheap. Um, you know. Yeah, I look forward to it too. It's pretty slick. It's pretty slick. I'm sure there will be some growing pains when we, actually get in use it a lot, but it's pretty slick, and James has done a good job. So I look forward to it too. Um, yeah. So, but anyway, VTTs, and there's just more coming every day. It's you would think it'd be like there's a lot of competition in the VTT space. Maybe this isn't the best thing to get into. I don't know. I made a role playing game, so what do I know? Now so. Um, but yeah, there's all those real fancy ones. Was it Tailspire? Is that the name of the really 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 fancy 3D one? I think. And then there's RPG Stories is another 3D one. And then there's like Alchemy, which is like a more like a real pretty one, but not really so like integrated with feature type of thing. And then there's probably many more that isn't there like Shard? And there's like Shard, which is basically 5e only, I think. There's just a ton of them. And there was Astral, which I kind of liked Astral because you could actually upload a PDF and it would look like your character sheet, and then all you really would have to do would go and put like fields where you were supposed to put your attribute numbers or whatever they were, right? You just put fields there, and then some of them would be clickable buttons, and those buttons would roll, right? For instance, that's really cool. And now the problem is like when I remember, I was playing with it for H&H, really at the beginning of H&H, and the problem was it just couldn't roll the dice I needed to roll. It was real weird. I don't understand who you can't have a roll keep roll. It didn't make any sense, but yeah, yeah. The time to set stuff up is like it's like people make their own maps and like Incarnate and Dungeon Draft and stuff. They look cool. I don't have time for that. So what do? I buy maps or find maps, like as like top down type maps, because I just don't have time for that stuff. So that's one of the things as a GM I just do not do very often is make my own maps because I just do not have time to do it. I got other things I got to do for the game. But maybe I'll try one of those one day. I don't know. Um, yeah. Is it, like RPG stories? They're guys that I've co-promoted with, and they're pretty cool. I think they're from Greece. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't really know that I care about 3D VTTs so much. It's not really my style. But it'll be interesting to see if Wizards of the Coast actually ever does theirs, and you know, integrate it with D&D Beyond or something. I did use D&D Beyond. Actually, I played my first 5e campaign like a year ago. Yeah, and it was fine. Um, as far as the system, good game. As far as the system, it was fine. Whatever. That's kind of yeah. So, but yeah, we used D&D Beyond. That was pretty cool, being able to roll from the website and it would push it down to any VTT you had open. So if I had Foundry up in the background working on something else, and I had my Roll20 up when the game had rolled both of them. It's kind of funny. Um, so yeah. So I would have my Octung Cthulhu game up that I was doing in Foundry, and then would have a D&D roll come across. It's just kind of weird. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Man, it's just I just have such a passion for this hobby, and the people in it. I really appreciate everyone. I feel we're kind of like I don't know. I just I wished, there's a lot of like this stuff sometimes, and I think that's pretty common in you know whatever you're gonna do, whatever hobby. But it was not very many of us, and I just really enjoy this hobby, and enjoy talking about it. I enjoy playing it, enjoy thinking about it. Honestly, it's probably on my mind most of the time. Yeah, which is weird. That seems weird, right? Like addictive, but yeah. I just wished I could churn out more stuff quicker. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna kind of slow down here and get off here and just so what's going on with Earl of Fife right now? We're going to in a couple weeks I'll have an adventure out. It's called the Folk of Huggathorpe. Um, and this is a adventure written by JVC Perry, originally for 5e, converted to Heroes and Hardships by me. Um, and I know that was on Kickstarter a while ago. It did not fund. Um, but yeah, we're going to convert it into Heroes and Hardships. It's almost done. And so to give the high fantasy, we don't have a lot of high fantasy stuff. So to give kind of a high fantasy adventure for folks. Um, and then shortly after, we're going to do that 5e Kickstarter, Dungeon Deep and Caverns Old. And that'll be on Kickstarter. And tentatively, this is the first time I said this publicly, it'll be April 30th. So that's tentatively when we're going to launch. And we'll see, but I think so. And that's going to have besides the setting and the adventure, which will have an adventure tier one adventure, it's going to have a lot of new stuff like backgrounds and feats and sub races and some classes and that stuff. Not done by me. You would not want me to do that. I did not develop that. I'm gonna hold off on who the designer is, but the designer is working on them now. Fairly well known in the 5e space, so got a good person to work on it, and I'm looking forward to it. After that, I have a summer Kickstarter. I have a couple small things coming too, like Rise of the Orc, which is Orc Bestiary. Um, and ancestry supplement. So about you know new stuff about orcs, players or baddies. So that'll be coming out. I don't know when, but it'll be coming out, not on Kickstarter. Then we do have a summer Kickstarter planned. It's called Star Theocracy right now. It's kind of a code name. I don't know if that will stick. It's a sci fantasy campaign with a lot of influences from Dune, Warhammer, Star Wars, and so on. We're creating. I'm working on the player's guide right now, and someone's going to start the adventure part. It's going to be similar to Dungeons Deep and Caverns Old and structure. It might be a little bigger. So that'd be for Heroes and Hardships, and we'll probably do a secondary system release for it, but I don't know what that is right now. Yeah, and hopefully this year we'll have at least after that Heroes and Hardships Kickstarter, at least two more. I'd like to have three more Heroes and Hardships, uh, um, three more Heroes and Hardships Kickstarters this year. Star Theocracy and two more. I don't know what they're going to be, but I'm I'm hoping the next one after that is going to be this kind of I, I don't know. I might have been like drunk or something when I thought of this, but it's having like an 80s adventure kind of line in Heroes and Hardships. So kind of like satirizing, 80s like cinema and stuff like that. My first one, and this is before uh, the new Roadhouse movie came out. I was thinking that I would do like kind of a Roadhouse knockoff and call it like Pain Don't Hurt or something like that, and it would be kind of like, how do you run your own bar and how do you like, all these kind of mechanics around that, and then the adventure or something very similar of like defending your bar from creeps and stuff. I don't know. That or like Kumite, and you have like a Van Damme situation where you're going to China to be in this super illegal kumite, and they have like advanced martial arts rules and stuff like that. Something kind of like 80s, very 80s centric, something like that. And then I think at the end of the year, we'll have like something big and serious, like you know, uh, codenamed Stormbolter is a big one. That one, or codenamed The Last Empress, which is a samurai kind of thing. And I've been watching Shogun, and I just watched The Blue-Eyed Samurai, and it's like got me into that. So, I'm a person that changes their mind pretty quick. So, until I'm closer, I don't know. But hopefully we'll do that. I'm looking forward to what this year turns out for Heroes and Hardships. I've not been disappointed yet. We're slowly building the game. I'm slowly trying to make it better. Eventually I'll have we release errata every once in a while as I collect it. Eventually, hopefully, we'll do a second printing, and I can go in and kind of fix some of those things and like do a little bit of clarity cleanup in some places here and there. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this whole process. It's been a huge learning experience, obviously, from just going from somebody who played a ton of games and ran a ton of games and kind of ran an actual play channel, and kind of like our shtick was trying as many systems as we could and just do, heavy role playing or whatever, and just kind of get into this new kind of phase of all this, and just try to make things that people like and try to make them well, and hopefully expand this game that hopefully some people will enjoy, and I think some people have. Who knows? It's hard to know how many people you're playing. Like, there's a few people that talk to me, or I know they're playing the game, but how many don't say any? Who talks to the publisher when they play games? Almost nobody. So it's interesting to think about like what's out there and who's playing your games. You're giving somebody some enjoyment, hopefully, or frustration even, and so hopefully they like it, and they keep playing it, and more people keep getting exposed to it. That's one of the reasons we'll run these Kickstarters and offer the core rulebook in those Kickstarters, and hopefully they check it out. And if you watch this, sometime down the line, and when Mark, thank you for hanging out with me, and yeah. If you watch it and you stay this long, I've been on here a while, I think. Just follow. I'll put a link to the Discord maybe in here. Or there should be one up on YouTube there anyway. And yeah, I'm happy to talk to anybody who has any questions, concerns, interests, whatever. Pretty much whenever I'm available. So come on over and chat, or if you're not into Discord, you can reply here in the comments, and I'll talk to you here too. And I appreciate everybody's time, and I hope you have a wonderful gaming week. So thanks.